us today. Any of the kids want to come up for a children's sermon? This is going to be a good one. Oh, I like your shoes. Love those shoes, babe. Oh, come on, there's lots of kids here. Where's the rest of you? All right. Nope. Come on up. Hey, Nora. Well, hi. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question in just a second here. And when I ask this question, I don't want you to answer for him. You got to answer just for you. You can't answer for your brother or your sister. Okay? You got to answer just for you. Who here has ever done anything wrong? You done something wrong? I've done something wrong. You guys are perfect? You never done it? Yeah? There we go. Okay, so pretty much all of us have done something wrong here. What happened after you got caught for doing that wrong thing? Do you mind telling us a little bit about what punishment means for you?
Maybe like doing an extra week of the dishwasher.
Oh. What kind of stuff gets taken away?
The
Four-wheeler taken away. Ooh, that's got to be painful. What else? What happened when you got caught doing something wrong or naughty? You guys, what happened to you?
I got to go to timeout.
Time out. Okay. And how did that feel?
Bad.
Yeah, it kind of feels bad. Did you have to go sit in a corner? Yeah, I hate that. Anybody here ever get a spanking? Nope, they don't do that. Oh! Anybody get grounded? You're too young to get. You have? Oh, no? Okay, maybe you wait till you get to be a teenager. That'll, yeah. So, yeah, we do something bad and we get some kind of punishment, and it's not fun. When we do something wrong, what does God do? Fixes our mistakes. Okay, you can all just go home now. There's the sermon. God doesn't send us down to hell. He doesn't say, you're going to burn down there for all eternity. God helps us fix what we did wrong. And that's the most important thing. That's a big, little word, but we use it in the church a lot. Helping us fix our mistakes is grace. Grace. So whenever you hear that word, know that grace means even when you've done something naughty, God's going to help you fix it and make it right. You're smiling. You got all sorts of naughty things you want to do today? Yeah? Look out, Mom.
That's why we call him Messy Wessie.
What's that?
That's why we call him Messy Wessie.
Messy Wessie. Okay. All right. Well, sometimes parents can be a little exhausted, and so grace doesn't come as easily. But for God, grace, and this is what today is all about. Grace, grace, grace. God is going to love you and help you fix whenever we do something wrong. So I hope you don't go home and do lots of naughty stuff. But you can go back to your seats now. There once was a little boy by the name of Jonas. And Jonas lived in a quiet little town at the edge of a forest. Now, he and his family didn't have very much money, and therefore Jonas didn't have many toys. But he had one special one that he held every single day. It was something he treasured. something his grandfather had made while he watched. It was a simple heart carved from very strong wood. His grandfather had made it so it was smooth to the touch, easy to carry in a pocket, and had the faint shape of hands holding on to each other, carved gently into the middle of the heart. When Jonas was scared or couldn't sleep, he held the heart in his palm. When he felt brave, he tucked it in his pocket. And when he felt lonely, he just rubbed his thumb over those two hands that were holding each other. But the wood carving wasn't just for the hard days. Jonah squeezed it tight when he had done well, and he rubbed the edges when he was working on something or thinking very hard. The wood carving was his constant companion, and it always reminded him of time with his grandfather. One day, he accidentally dropped this carved heart in the mud on the way home from school. He tried to wipe it off, but the stains sank deeply into the grain of wood. That night, he went home and he handed the heart back to his grandfather, ashamed that he hadn't taken better care of it. He had tears in his eyes and he said, "It's ruined. I don't deserve this." His grandfather smiled and took out a small carving knife. He held the heart close and said, "We can always carve deeper. We can always make room for more love." When the prophet Jeremiah from our Old Testament lesson today speaks of a new covenant that God is giving them, he's not asking the people to reject or throw anything away. He's inviting people into a deeper carving. Israel had stumbled. They had made a big mistake. They had broken promises, they had lost their way, they had wandered away from God. But God didn't discard them. God said, "I will put my law within them. I will write it on their hearts." This is not about punishment. This is not a legal mandate or even some new policy come down from heaven. No. What this Old Testament reading is all about is relational intimacy. It's God telling those Israelites, you won't have to look outside of yourself for the rules anymore. I'll place my love where you will feel it most. In your heart. This is the carving of grace. Now, be very clear. This is not about a transactional faith, meaning you do this for me and I will do that for you. No. What God is talking about is a transformative faith, a faith that transforms us. It's not some checklist that we have to do, but a change in how we see our relationship with God. It's a totally new way of being. You see, God's promises to us is not about making us behave better. God's promise is to remake us from within with his love. And that love and grace and forgiveness become a way of life, not some obligation we have to fulfill. Our second lesson from today, we meet Paul in his letter to the Romans, who is standing in ruins. He is surrounded by spiritual pride and performance-based faith. And he's speaking to people who believe that their religious observances like law-keeping, rule-following, calling out sinners, justified them and made them better, different. But Paul says it plainly in this passage. All have sinned. All have fallen short of the glory of God. Paul doesn't say this to shame those people he was with. He doesn't say it to scold them, but merely to level the playing field. To help everybody understand that God doesn't play favorites and that you can't pay your way into God's good graces. And here's the grace, that we are now justified by His grace as a gift. Yeah, God's grace is a gift. It's not earned, it's not manufactured, it's not deserved, it's a gift. When we fall short, as we all do, we're not worthless or cast away from God or by God. It only reveals that more care is needed. Paul reminds us, we don't clean ourselves up for God. No. God picks us up exactly as we are, where we are, and carves grace into the very fiber of our being, into our hearts. This is what was discovered in the Reformation. Luther actually rediscovered this passage out of Romans. It's a radical truth that had been there since Paul wrote it. But it had gotten lost, gotten buried under guilt and fear and church control and the power grab of those in power looking to keep it while treating others as less than. And the truth that Luther rediscovered grace as a gift, that faith isn't a ladder we climb, but a hand we hold. And then we head over to John's Gospel. Jesus, in the Gospel of John, is speaking to people who believe that they had already arrived. They were pretty darn good. We have never been slaves to anyone, they say. But Jesus is speaking beyond politics or history. Quote, everyone who commits a sin is a slave to sin. But if the Son sets you free, you shall be free indeed. See, being a Christian isn't about status. It isn't about whether or not you have a great family line. It isn't about who did what right and who did what wrong. And it certainly isn't about who is better and who is worse than the rest. It's about soul. The deeper bondage that Jesus speaks about is the kind that traps us in a cycle of proving and performing and pretending. We become chained to the idea that love is something we gotta earn, that we're nothing more than what we can accomplish, that our mistakes define us forever, and that somehow we will never be good enough in God's eyes. But Jesus speaks a freer word to us in this passage. You are not what you've done. You are not what others say about you. You are mine. That is truth. Truly, truly, I say to you. And that truth, that you are beloved, that you are forgiven, that you are free, and that God loves you right where you are, just as you are, is what sets every one of us free to live. Not for approval, but from it. From already being loved by God. I told you yesterday at rehearsal, Trace, that I had a word for you. So the rest of you can ignore this. I'm going to be talking to Trace right now. Trace, you may feel like you're being handed something too big today. Sometimes it can feel like faith is too large to carry or too big to understand. But let me tell you something. Today is not about perfection. If one of us trips, if one of us stumbles, if one of us stutters, today is not about having all the answers, my friend. It's about knowing who to turn to when you're not at your best, when you don't have all the answers, and even when you've made a mistake, even if they're big, fat, juicy ones. But it's also about knowing where you can go when you celebrate. When everything is right in front of you to grab a hold to and your future is bright and hopeful. It's about willing to be carved. The journey of faith, my friend, is going to leave marks. And some will be from your mistakes. And some will be from the people around you who have made mistakes. And some will come from grace itself, shaping you when you least expect it. But never forget that you are being shaped in love. And if the heart of your faith ever feels broken or stained, know this: God doesn't throw you away. God just carves deeper. Because God sees in you more than anything you've ever done. More than any mistake you may make in the future or have made in the past. As well as any accomplishments. And you've had plenty of those. God sees in you the love He gave you when you were just a baby. When you were born, God put love in you. And God knows that you are worthy of that love. And to the rest of you who are here for this Reformation Sunday. You know, Reformation happened some 500 years ago, but Reformation is definitely not a holiday of the past. It is a reminder that God is still reforming us. It is a reminder that God is still chiseling away our fears, still sanding down our pride, still hollowing a space within us for more love, more courage, more freedom. And maybe today, like Jonas, you carry a heart that feels a little worn or stained. Maybe you've dropped it a few too many times. But here's the Reformation truth for all of you. God's grace does not shame you. It shapes you. God has not stopped writing. God's just not doing it on stone tablets anymore. God is writing in the living wood of your soul. Not with ink, but with love. And the hands that hold that chisel are gentle and strong and always faithful. Jonas still kept the heart that his grandfather had carved. The stains are mostly gone, but deeper now was the image of the two hands holding, carved with greater care than before, and having a fainter dark edge where the mud stains remain, not as a stain, but as now part of the artwork. And on the back, his grandfather etched new words, loved into being. And that, my friends, is what today is all about. Let grace carve you. Let love claim you. Let truth set you free. Amen.